Hey, what's up, zoners? Welcome to the Week 13 Dallas Cowboys start-sit episode. Week 13, Thursday Night Football is tonight. The Seattle Seahawks are going all the way down to Dallas just to go get their ass kicked. And I'm going to be telling you who to start, who to sit for the Cowboys during this ass kicking, all the way down to the defense and kicker. If that sounds interesting to you, hold on for 7 seconds. Hey, what's up, zoners? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Banjo, the dog, coming at you live from my garage. And this is the Fantasy Red Zone. Today's episode, I have all my notes typed out. I will be sharing that with you right now. All right, here we go. Let's set the scene. The over and under for this game is at 47.5 points. This might turn into a blowout because Dallas is favored by 9.5. That is a ton. This is the second highest over and under for the week. I love me some of that. And this game is being played in a dome, boy. All right, let's look at the defense that Seattle likes to run, because this is going to be very important when we look into the wide receivers. They play man third least amount in the league, 13.6% of the time. They play zone, second most in the league, dude, 85.5%. That is insane. All right, first up, we have Dak Prescott. He is quarterback 4 for the year. I effed up big on my preseason rankings for him. I'm pressing play on this dude. Seattle giving up the 16th most points to quarterbacks this season at 16.4 points. That is an average matchup. Purdy, who's been on kind of fire as of late, held to just over 200 yards and 1 touchdown last week versus Seattle. Seattle has those 2 amazing corners. Prescott has been the number 1 quarterback since his bye over the last 5 games, throwing multiple touchdowns in each of those games, 4 touchdowns in 3 of the last 5 games. He has scored 34 points, 15 points, 40 points, and 29 fantasy points in their last 4 blowouts. In the last 5 games I was just talking about, 4 of those have been blowouts, and he has had 1 blowout that he has scored, 15 points is not really shit. So you got to look out for that, but 75% of the time he is killing it during blowouts, and this has a good chance to be a blowout. Dak Prescott has not been sacked in the last 3 games. That is insane. This offensive line is starting to get back to that elite level, and Seattle is only sacking people the 15th most in the league right now. So Dak will have plenty of time to throw, but the problem here is the corners in Seattle are amazing. I think it's Woolen and Weatherspoon. Dude, they give up like the least amount in the league almost to the slot. The best wide receiver on the Cowboys is running slot like 58% of the time. We'll talk about that later. I do see this as a down game for Dak Prescott. I do not see him getting 30, 40 points. I see him getting high teens, 17, 18 points. Next up, everybody's favorite running back, Tony Pollard. Running back 15 on the season. That was a lot higher just a couple weeks ago. I'm pressing play on this fool. Seattle allowing the 4th most points to fantasy running backs this year at 23.2. That is an amazing matchup. So they have those great cornerbacks, but they do not have like that run stuffer in the middle. CMC just went crazy versus Seattle last week, man. 30 points, 35 points, some shit like that. Rushing touchdowns in back-to-back week games. So Tony Pollard was doing terrible. He played Carolina and he played somebody else, Washington, and now he's looking okay. I still do not believe that Tony Pollard is all the way back, but I think that he is a high-end running back too. He has 11 targets over the past 2 games, both in which were blowouts. So even in blowouts, he's catching the ball a lot, so that is great. That's the thing was that he was doing so bad in these blowouts. I think he only did well in 1, and he did terrible in 3. But now we're seeing that he might be blowout proof, and that's what we need. He has not reached over 15 carries since week 3 versus Arizona, so we need him to be catching those passes. And dude, I think it was CMC was second in targets versus Seattle last week. So against Seattle defense, there are going to be a lot of opportunities to dump off to your running backs, dude. He had 8 missed tackles through the first 8 weeks. Okay, that's 1 a week. 10 over the last 2 weeks. That's 5 a week, dude. So tremendous, 500% increase in his missed tackles. So over the past 4 weeks, Tony Pollard has produced a run of 10 or more yards on 13.5% of his carries. He hit 10 plus run yards on 16.3% of his runs in 2022. So he's still not back to that rate, even against these shitty defenses. That's why I said Pollard is not, all the way back, but I do think that he is still a running back worth starting in your running back 2 slot. Next up, Rico Dowdle. I wrote his name immediately last game on my waiver wire show. Running back 51. I'm pressing pause on this dude. If he got some opportunity, I think that he would actually outproduce Tony Pollard. He caught that He scored the first touchdown of the game, Thanksgiving, wrote his name down. I was like, holy shit, dude, Tony Pollard's going down in flames. After that, Tony Pollard came on hot, and they quit giving Rico Dowdle the ball, man. He got like 4 touches or something like that. He had 12 carries. Oh, he's got touchdowns in 2 of his last 3 games. So you're thinking, hey, maybe I can start him against Seattle, giving up all these points to running backs. I would not. 12 carries in the Giants blowout, 8 carries versus Carolina, and then only 3 last game versus Washington. So as Pollard has been coming on, it has been reducing Rico's role down to not startable numbers. I'm pressing pause on him. All right, next up, your favorite wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 4 on the season. I was wrong again. I did not believe in Mike McCarthy's offense. I thought that Kellen Moore was the secret sauce for CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott doing well in fantasy. I was wrong, dude. I'm pressing play on this dude. Seattle giving up the 14th most points to wide receivers at 29.2. That is an average matchup. This is the thing, dude. He plays the slot 59% of the time. Seattle giving up the 8th fewest points to the slot receiver over the last 4 games. And Devon Witherspoon plays in the slot quite a bit, dude. That is their number 1 rookie sensation cornerback. So do not be surprised if CeeDee Lamb only catches a touchdown in 50 yards like he has in the last 2 games, okay? So I do not have CeeDee Lamb as a super smash, but I have him as a wide receiver 1, for God's sakes. He has had 6 touchdowns in the last 5 games. That's after the bye. So after the bye, they came out and they're like, fucking CeeDee Lamb's catching all the goddamn don't call him CeeDee anymore. Let's call him TD Lamb. Ooh, that sounds TDs. Only 53 or fewer yards in each of his last 2 after posting 3 straight 150-plus yard receiving games. So you remember when he was just killing it? That has not been the case. He's had to catch touchdowns to save his fantasy ass as of late. All right, so look at the coverage here. Seattle has been just above league average in yards after per coverage snap at 6.0. And first down plus touchdown rate allowing 33.8% while in zone. So they are average at zone, and that's what they play all the time, okay? CeeDee Lamb, let's look how CeeDee Lamb does against zone, since that is what he's going to be facing 85% of the time. He's tied for the 9th most fantasy points per route run against zone coverage this year. So that is great this season and should not be removed from starting lineups. Like, you're going to fucking remove him from your starting lineup. I'm not telling you that, dude. All other Cowboy wide receivers rank outside the top 80 in fantasy points per route run against the zone. So this is the only wide receiver that does well against zone for the Cowboys. So newsflash, or whatever I'm trying to say. No. So spoiler alert, I am going to say this is my only starting wide receiver for this team. All right, guys, here we go. Brandon Cooks. I went to the same college as Brandon Cooks. I worked out one time in the same gym as him. I saw him across. I imagined that we were working out together. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Wide receiver, 47. I'm pressing pause on Brandon Cooks, okay? 4 touchdowns in the last 6 games. You're like, why are you pausing, dude? He's been a wide receiver too. Well, because he sucks against zone, man. And the fucking Seattle Seahawks have 2 great cornerbacks. They're going to limit the Dallas Cowboys. They're not going to just run up the score, man. I'm telling you. If they do, it's going to be by running the ball. He's only had more than 4 receptions in 1 game this season. That's the blowout against the Giants when he had like 190 yards, okay? Runs the most routes on the right wide receiver side. Should stay away from Witherspoon and Woolen. I put 4. It's going to be the 3rd cornerback that covers him most of the time, so that is good. Runs the 2nd most of his routes in the slot, which ain't good versus Seattle. So if he can just stay on that right side and let CD work the slot, that'd be much better for Brandon Cooks. But 28% of the time, I think Brandon Cooks is in the slot, and I do not see him doing well there. Let's see. Brandon Cooks is not seeing a strong target rate against man coverage either. 14%. So which is 39th in fantasy, and he's only 39th in fantasy points per route run versus man. So we know that he is outside the top 80 in versus zone. He is not getting the targets versus man. This is not a game where you want to start Brandon Cooks. Next up, Black Eyed Peas, Fergie's favorite player, Jake Ferguson, tight end number 8 on the season, dude. Pressing play on this dude. He has outperformed his ADP by a lot. Seattle allowing the 11th fewest points to tight ends at 8.3. That is not great. Kittle held to only 3 receptions for 19 yards last week versus Seattle. That ain't good either, dude. Only 1 reception on 3 targets last game versus Washington, and Washington allows everybody to score. Come on, man. 4.5 or fewer fantasy points in each of the last 2 after 3 straight games with touchdowns. So he had 3 straight games with touchdowns. Now he has 2 games with 4.5 points or fewer. And I'm going to tell you to start him because tight ends suck and he's still a top tight end play. But mostly The cornerbacks on this team are where it's at, okay? That's the strength of this team. If the Dallas Cowboys end up passing the ball at all, dude, I believe it's going to be to Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb. Start you, Sam Ferguson. All right, guys, this is a stupid question. Dallas Cowboys defense. Defense, number one. Yeah, I'm pressing play on these fools. Seattle giving up the 14th fewest points to defenses at 6.38. That is an average matchup. Double-digit fantasy points in each of the 4 blowouts since the bye. It was only against, the Eagles that they did not do well against? Come on, dude. You got to start Dallas Cowboys defense against anybody. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Brandon Aubrey, he was like the best kicker in the league the first half of the season. He is kicker number 3 on the year right now. He's done terrible as of late. I'm pressing play on this dude. I know it says pause, but I've had time to think about this now. Seattle allowing the 14th most points to kickers at 8.5. That is an average matchup. 8 or fewer fantasy points in each of the last 4 games, dude. So, I mean, these blowouts, he's got like 7 extra points kicked and shit like that. It's not great. Averaging 1.5 field goal attempts per blowout this year. I'm playing with fire here, people, but with the cornerbacks, dude, and Tony Pollard not doing that great, okay? I see them being stuck in the red zone, maybe goal line a couple times. I'm thinking 3 field goals. I'm thinking he's going to get double-digit points this week. Brandon Aubrey, play. All right, everybody, that is the show. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I earned a thumbs up. Hopefully I earned a subscription. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. We need your help, man. We need to take the show to the next level. Please support the show because we need you. This is Tyler Big Turd Ward, and I appreciate you.